addressing some of the scientific and research needs. And we certainly use it a lot when I was at the university and when I was with government. You know, we have volunteers of different sorts, NGOs working with us. And it's also, I think, a more attractive, a more rewarding experience to do it that way. Because you're working not only with other academics or researchers, but you're working with members of the public. And you're learning from each other, sometimes from people who are entirely not even in that area, but are interested. And I really remember this from working with Catamaran Brook. So Catamaran Brook, when it started, had a number of sort of main goals. And one of them was to look at the potential impact of forestry as it's practiced on the aquatic resources, really on the salmon population within this small brook. So I used to work with foresters, and I used to go to their meetings. You know, at one time it was REPAP, then it became UPM Kimini, and you know, going to their meetings where they had no biological background, certainly no fish biology background, and I had no industrial forestry background, but working together, we realized we had common goals. You know, we cared about the natural resources. Many of the foresters were also keen salmon anglers. They did not want to in any way affect the aquatic resource. So we learned from each other, and I learned about industrial forestry as they learned about salmon biology. And so working together, you achieve things and reach goals or that you never even anticipated initially. So it's, yeah, one of the things that I think we're still not doing well, and when I say we, I'm talking about salmon conservation organizations, whether they be the MSA, the university, the government. I don't think we're communicating well yet. With each other, certainly, and especially with members of the public. I remember this even when I was as a researcher. I was often surprised how what I thought was well understood by the general public when we were working in different areas wasn't at all the case. Oftentimes people would drive by if we were electrofishing. Sometimes they would stop and they would look and wondering, and then all of a sudden I made an effort to try to speak with some of the people. And they were always interested once I started explaining. But I still don't think we're communicating well. And this came up just in a discussion earlier when we were saying how people still don't quite understand what it is that we're doing within the MSA, for instance. I remember this with the CAST project. I was shocked at how few, despite our efforts to sort of publicize it and explain what it was we were doing, even educated members of the public who I thought would be very familiar with this thought it was just a stocking program. It was more just stocking, where it was more, no, it was adult supplementation, where we were trying as best we could still mimic aspects of the natural sort of way of doing things, or the way salmon would naturally be spawning. Yes, we were manipulating, but it wasn't clear. And so the public had this incorrect vision or view of what it was that we were doing. And so I think that's one area that I think we need to improve upon if we're going to be moving ahead with trying to restore stocks, with trying to improve the situation for salmon, is that we need to invest more energy into speaking with Joe Q public about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it and why it's different from the way things were done. So I think that could certainly be improved, and it's like anything, right? If you're more transparent, if you provide more information, then it makes everyone feel more at ease and they understand better. Otherwise, they'll sometimes take a negative position on something just because it's unfamiliar to them.
Yes.
Canadian Rivers Institute, I guess, back around 2000, in the year 2000 at the University of New Brunswick. And it initially started with, again, this appreciation amongst a number of academics at the time at UNB here in Fredericton who had a common interest in rivers. And you know, New Brunswick especially. New Brunswick is blessed in a variety of rivers when you think about it. Some run to Fundy, some run to Northumberland Strait, some are long, some are short, some are tidal, some are not. You know, it's just, it's just a great place to study rivers. So we had people in engineering who were looking at aspects of hydraulics and hydrology. We had people in earth science who were looking at things like, you know, geology impacts and how it affects water flows. We had the biologists who were looking at fishes, bugs, and so it just seemed that if we really wanted to better understand how our rivers worked and so how better to protect them, we should be working across disciplines. And it was especially good at a time when John McLaughlin was president, because John was a big thinker and he always thought outside of the box, and he was always talking about removing silos, and so in other words bridging gaps between disciplines. So it was a perfect marriage of ideas, and the timing was right to do something like this, and so hence it was formed. And I think it's a useful, and so then it expanded beyond just our campus, and it was actually even at the time meant to be a two-campus initiative, which it is or was and still is, and a variety of people with student-based research. And then we worked with outside, working with NGOs, you know, with government. We even had like Environment Canada set up some of their offices on campus to work with the Canadian Rivers Institute. MSA, ASF, you know, were very, you know, critical, you know, partners in a lot of the work that we were doing. So yeah, so it was the timing was good. It seemed to be a sensible approach to understanding complex problems or complex issues. And so it's throughout Atlantic Canada, certainly in Ontario. There were members at one time working out in Alberta as well, still to some degree. But
BC?
Yeah. BC, we had a few people working there as well too. Yes.
And Quebec, Laval?
Yeah. Quebec, oh yeah, for sure. We had people from Quebec and still do from Quebec.
Okay.